Okay, so back to the next strategy, number 4. It is, again, I can use video and freeze it. We have a version that took a while for the U.S. Olympic Committee to help us develop, but there are ways for you to do this. We call it occlusion software. Occlusion means like blocking or a blockage or a stoppage, and what it really means is that you have a developing play. You probably all have your scouting footage of a team, and all you do is you freeze it at a particular instant. And for us, we use it for our middle blockers a lot to freeze it just as the setter is contacting the ball. And then the screen goes black, and they have to answer a question in the next 5 seconds. And you could just quiz them or build some questioning software, but easier just to quiz them and just say, okay, what's going to happen next? You got the cues right up to the point of contact. Where is she going to set? She's going to set quick. She's going to set to the left side, to the right side. You can use the same thing, of course, for attackers. I've been focusing more on attack today in this presentation. But there's some simple software out there. I looked it up on the internet, actually a couple of examples. We'll try to get those links out to you after this also, of software where you can just freeze or have the picture go black. So it's a live video, and then it freezes and goes black, and then you ask your middles, where is she going to set? You ask your defenders, what is she going to do? What's happening next? So that's another strategy that you can use to try to help your athletes become better readers of the game. The next one is something we use a lot in our gym, and it's just small group games. Back to something more similar to what I got, to where I was already a very strong reader of the game by the time I even got to UCLA, got to play college volleyball and even in high school. And that was because I played a lot of doubles, unobstructed view, and so we play a lot of 3-on-3 and 4-on-4 volleyball. We did it yesterday. We're going to finish a tournament today. We've got the World Cup coming up, but it's still a way to, A, make our players, help them learn to read the game better, and B, become better all-around athletes, better generalized specialists. In each version, we give what's called an OSK bonus, an off-speed kill bonus. So we could be just playing a regular game of 3-on-3 deep court volleyball or a regular game of 4-on-4. So 3 in the backcourt, 1 at the net. She could choose to block. She could choose to defend. It doesn't even matter. But a team will get a bonus for an off-speed kill, for a tip, for a roll shot, for anything else other than a reasonably hard-driven ball. They get an extra point for that. So it's an easy way of, if a team is down by 4, they put 2 off-speeds away, and they're right back in the game. And more importantly, it encourages off-speed shots, it encourages tips, and it encourages athletes to defend it, because why would I want to give up an extra point when I'm trying to win the game? So we do that regularly. That's our strategy number 5. And another one that we've used in some forms in our gym, and I used in other forms in our USA men's gym many years ago, I guess the one, Bill Neville used to call it the flinch drill. And it makes me think of last year I was working with some middles, and they just seemed to be confounded, as defenders so often are, when the tip would drop. So we went over to the other court and just said, all right, middles, here we're going to have you run a tight quick, a front 1. And one of you is going to go on the other side of the net. You're going to play left back defense. So those who are attacking, I want you to either hit about half, 50 or 60% speed, and hit toward your middle across the net in left back. Or I want you to tip as if along the net, as if there's left side help. So I tip in the open vacant spot or tip over the middle. And then what I told the wing defender, the middle who was on the other side of the net playing defense, I said, all right, try something, try this. Just don't even watch the ball. Just watch the attacker. Let's see if we can get any cues. So first play comes, and the middle hitter across the net tips over the phantom middle blocker who was there. There were no blockers in this particular little activity. And our middle steps right in and picks the tip up like nothing, and she said, "Oh my God, that was so easy. I've never looked at the hitter before." So that was my giveaway, and it took me a year to figure that out with the USA program. I make assumptions. You sometimes might too, but I certainly make assumptions, mistaken assumptions about what people are seeing and when they're seeing it. And so we try to encourage people not to look at the ball only, but to get these cues. And when you have a little wider vision, reading in real time, then you're going to get a lot more information and be a much better reader of the game, anticipator of the game. Ultimately, we need to maximize opportunities to respond to game-like conditions. We need to give our athletes a lot of opportunities to respond to the kinds of hitters that they're going to see in the air, in competition, instead of on the ground or on a table. They got to put together the real-time flight of the set, the ball, the real-time flight of the hitter, the meeting of the two twixt and between in the air, to try to figure out how we can glean those pieces of information and become better readers and make the makeable play, which I'm sure it happens in your gym. It sure happens in ours. There are a lot more makeable plays that could be made that aren't because we're not seeing the right things. We're trying to help them learn as fast as they can. Again, the ones I went over were demonstration with keywords and questions. You can show time slices, as I did for you with the Russian server there. You can do video in slow-mo with this. I mentioned the camera. It's not the only one out there, but it certainly works well for us. We'll send you a link to that with the slow-mo camera. You can freeze frame and ask your athletes what's happening next. You can do small group games where you encourage off-speed shots and tips and bonus it, and then, of course, defenders have to stop allowing a second point or extra points to happen. You can do splint drill activities where you have maybe hitters hitting down the line and they hit 50 to 70%, not full speed, or they tip or they roll, and the line defender has to read right and look for the hand disappearing or not disappearing. In fact, here are the resources. I also mentioned Ronaldo, but apparently you can't click on these links, so we will send you those later. All right. Wow. Okay, did that in 47 minutes, even with a little delay there. So, again, I look forward to your feedback. We're going to do a little Q&A now, but I look forward to your feedback, and of course, I thank you all for I would love to hear your feedback and hear what you're learning in your gym. As I said, it's an ongoing process here. Some of these things we're just now getting into more after part of the focus, especially the first year, was helping our athletes become much more skilled in becoming generalized specialists. But there you have it. So, Kaylee, there might be a question or two.
Sure, thank you. Looks like we have a couple questions, so we'll go ahead and get started with that. Our first one comes from Stephen, and just a real quick question. Can Canovia use regular speed video as well?
It sure can. And I just feel like with this camera, and if you, there are models like it, the camera that we've been using, we just got it a couple of months ago. It looks just like a regular old digital point-and-shoot camera. It's about $230. You can find it on the internet. But if you don't have the money to want to buy one, or don't have the resources to buy one of those, then absolutely you can use regular video and you can put it side by side. The reason I sat to the side for the stuff that I showed you, because I wanted to have a much more clear view of the attacker hitting and tipping. But this Canovia stuff works great. You can mark it up, you can put text on it, you can draw on it, all kinds of things like that, and it'll work on live footage, and you can freeze it, and you can, one of the nice things is you synchronize it, so you look side by side. What is the hitter doing here? What is the hitter doing there? Oh, here's the difference.
Okay, great. Our next question comes from James, and he says, I have created a lighting device that I attach to my shoulder and use when I hit at my athletes. Just before I hit, I can either turn a red light or a green light on, and the players have to tell me which light is on while they dig. Should I move this light around? For instance, put it on my hip or elbow to get them to look somewhere else besides just the ball? or do you think it has any benefit?
I think that's an interesting concept, certainly provocative. The one thing, so I like that you're getting hitters, getting defenders to see something besides the ball and have a wider viewpoint. I think what I like even more, even though I like the light concept, is I like it if you can also transition to doing things without a light, because we don't get to see a light in a game. We only get to see a hitter. So maybe what you can do is jump and give it away, or have whoever's hitting give it away a little, or have the hand, as I showed you, disappear behind the head, or it never disappears. It's always visible. Or maybe the hand, instead of the light being on your shoulder, the light is in your hand, and now you're getting them to look at your hand a little more. So maybe it's a combination of the two, but certainly interesting and thought-provoking in terms of ultimately trying to get your athletes to look away from the ball and get some cues from the attacker in midair.
Great, thank you. Our next question comes from Ashley, and she asks, do you have a suggestion at what age or level of play a coach should start teaching reading skills?
I think they should happen as soon as possible. I think that, you watch, I go to the JOs, and I see some of these teams from Hawaii and Puerto Rico in particular, in the 12-year-old division. They are already good readers of the game, and they know what's going to happen more than their opponents across the net, because they've seen a lot more real game, real-time examples of it across the net, examples of the kinds of attackers that they're going to face in competition. So I think we should try and teach it as early as possible. That's part of becoming a better volleyball player, is learning to see the game right from the start. Just think of what a huge advantage it is for 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds to be able to be strong readers of the game. They might not even be that great mechanically, but if they can read the game, very few volleyballs are going to drop on their side of the net when they're playing defense. That's an incredible advantage.
Sure. Okay, our next question comes from Matthew, and there's a couple questions about this, so we'll kind of combine them. Do you teach a particular eye sequence for defenders? If you do, is it the same eye path for blockers?
I forgot to mention it as a finish-up when I mentioned before that one of our middles was playing defense and said, oh my God, that was so easy. I've never looked at the hitter before. It prompted us. Typically, you hear about a concept called ball setter, ball hitter, an eye sequence. I'm looking at the pass, the ball. I'm looking at the setter. I'm looking at the set, the ball in the air, and then I'm looking at the hitter, ball setter, ball hitter. Well, after I learned figured out how often our athletes are just looking at the ball, I was kind of only half kidding to myself and some of our other coaches and saying, well, I guess it's not so much ball setter, ball hitter, but it's ball, 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 ball. So we instead of the paper towel concept of looking at the ball so much, we have tried to get away from that, and it's more I'm looking at the pass, I'm looking at the setter, and I'm looking at the set and the hitter. I'm trying to get more information from the things that are going to make the ball go my way. And what makes the ball go my way is first the setter puts it up there, and then the hitter contacts it. And I have to get those. The ball is not going to tell me where it's going to go. The hitter and the setter are going to tell me where the setter is going to tell me where the set goes. The hitter is going to tell me where the attack goes. So I guess we've gotten away from that construct a bit, or that particular terminology. But yes, we want to see, first of all, look at the pass. Is it going over the net? If it is, I got to do something with it. I got to pass it. I got to hit it. I got to let somebody else hit it. Then I got to look at the setter. I got to be on the setter a long time, especially as blockers, but also as defenders if the setter's in the front row or the back row and might put it over on two. I know there are setters out there, even in the backcourt, who are very effective at setting over on two. So my backcourt line of defense has to see that also. And there are giveaways that setter will, those cues that setter will give me if I'm looking at the right things. But if I'm only looking at the ball, I will be surprised every time she puts it over.
Okay, thank you. And since you mentioned the setter, we can go into this question from Steven. What are some of the keys to reading the setter? It seems like the hand is a big one for a hitter, so what are some of the things to look at for the setter?
These are things that we put in every one of our scouting reports, actually, we call them setter tells. Does the setter arch her back when she is going to set back? Does she drop her hands when she's going to set, there's a lot of words for it, a lot of names for it, a shoot set, a 31, a gap. All of those mean the same thing. It's a quick away from the setter toward daylight between the right side blocker and the middle blocker. Many setters drop their hands when they're going to set that ball. Another big giveaway is when a setter is going to set a pipe or a bick, she faces it. So her shoulders aren't facing the go or the left side set, but she faces at a 45-degree angle off the net. She also often, even internationally, will square not only to the bick or the pipe, but she'll square to the back set. So if the pass is 7 feet off the net, and she'll turn her back toward the back set, unless it's a perfect pass, she often will tell me before she ever sets the ball where the ball is going. So those are some of the things that we look for in setters. Very few setters, even internationally, don't have their tells and their giveaways, and that gives our blockers an advantage. So we don't have to be stuck in a pure read. If the setter is doing things that are screaming out back set, then we are ready to, first and foremost, loaded to make that move that way.
Okay, great. Our next question comes from Marianne, and she asks, what is the best way for the backcourt defenders to be in position while seeing the hitter when the blockers are in the way?
That is a good question, and the answer is it depends on the defensive system that you use. Again, you know, I'm not telling any of you what to do, but just telling you what we're trying to do and what's working. And in our system, we want our defenders often to try to get in a position where the hitter can hit to her. So she has to ask herself the question, can the hitter hit to me? Do I have an unobstructed view of the hitter? If I'm left back defender and I can't, then the answer is, okay, I take a step back toward the corner and I try to see the best I can. But if she can hit to me, I'm going to stay there because I'm in a good spot to get hit to. So we try to get in spots where the hitter can hit to them. If it's an obstructed view, then the defender will try to get in the best position to get back into an unobstructed view, or just in a stopped and fairly neutral forward ready position, but not moving at contact, ready to move and ready to chase down the deflection off the block or help out on defense in any other way that they can. But usually you can get in, very often you can get in a position to still be able to see the hitter and glean those cues that I was trying to show you with the Canovia software.
Okay, great. Our next question comes from Karen, and she says, I only have 2 hours with the team, so video is not a realistic option. What are situations I can put them in to emphasize reading with the limited time on the court that I have?
Well, the ones I covered before, I think those were number 5 and 6. Let me go back here. Yeah, the small group games and the Flint drill are a couple of activities, or you can play 6-on-6 volleyball and also bonus or penalize certain things. Bonus the tip, bonus the off-speed shot, or bonus the defense of it and keeping it up in the air. Those are all activities that try to play something that looks just like volleyball, actually just play volleyball, because ultimately the game teaches that game very well. That was my teacher, was just playing, and those thousands and thousands of reps I got. Real life, real game, real-time opportunities to respond, but putting an emphasis on certain things to get them to focus on that more. So trying to get a tip down more for the offense, trying to defend it more on defense are good activities. Now, another thing you can do with this Canovia software, you can, what I showed you was some synchronized video. And what you can do is you can actually make clips. It will export clips, even with your markups, even if you put little lines on it and text on it and follow the path of a shoulder or a hip or an elbow or a hand or a knee. And you can export those in a simple video format that they can then watch on any media player on their computer. So even though you only have your 2 hours, you can make clips that they can study on their own, unmarked and marked, etc. And it's a great way to encourage some learning on their own to start getting these cues. So combine both, but certainly emphasize the reading of the game in your limited time in practice, because you're going to get great benefit, I think, from having athletes who are better readers of the game. We certainly are.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. And that is our last question for today, so we'll go ahead and wrap up. I want to thank you all for attending our webinar today on Teaching Your Players to Read, presented by Karch Karai. I would like to also thank Karch for taking the time to share his insights with us. We really appreciate it, Karch.
Kaylee, you still there?
Yes.
I just wanted to thank everybody again, and please, we'll put it in the email, but any feedback, I'm always interested. I feel like I learn as much as you do in things like this. So please send me any of your thoughts, and thanks a lot, Kaylee, for helping organize this.
Thank you, too. We appreciate it. Now just a couple final notes for everyone on the webinar. Once you exit out of the webinar, a short survey will pop up, so please take a moment and give us your feedback on today's webinar. Also, I wanted to announce the new webinars that we have just made available for the 2011 Down the Stretch series. You can see them there on your screen. If you want to register for any of those, you can go ahead and visit the ABCA website. They are now available. So again, thank you for joining us today, and I hope you'll join us again during a future ABCA Educational Timeout. Have a good day, everyone.